Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Tamara.
And today we're asking the question, what should you say when somebody comes out to you? Now this is the result of a woman whose video went viral. Like her son came out to her as a heterosexual boy, and he's a tiny kid. And so she tells the story on her vlog, but then she ends the video with this kind of like, I'm coming out to you guys, I'm straight, I hope you still love me. And the whole flippant kind of response has gotten people a little bit up in arms.
Understandably.
Right. Now, so we looked at it and we're like, well, what is the appropriate response to somebody coming out to you as gay? Unfortunately, from my experience and from the experience of, talking to people, the most common response of acceptance, obviously, is somebody saying something like, oh, it's okay, I love you anyway. Or I love you regardless. Or you're still my friend. Or some sort of thing. But what that ultimately does, and I understand it's coming from a good place, but what it ultimately does is it says, oh, I understand that there's something wrong with you, but, I'll overlook that.
Mm. It is a very negative response, and I don't think people mean it that way, but it is loaded with negativity because it's the default state of, well, I'm choosing to still like you instead of...
Even though you got cooties.
Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't... ideally, it should be a non-event, right?
Exactly. What's been your experience of coming out? What's been the most positive something that somebody said to you?
Well, the most positive something that someone has said to me is not actually saying something. And I will explain because that just sounds confusing. So, I started a new job recently, and when a coworker asked what my husband does, I was like, well, my wife does X, Y, Z. And she completely blipped over it. Oh, that's so cool. And
moved on.
There was no oh my God, you're a lesbian. Tell me how you have sex, or it's cool, we could still be friends, or whatever it is.
Some of my best friends are lesbian.
Exactly. There was none of that. It was just okay, cool. Maybe slight embarrassment at having
the wrong pronoun, but moving on.
Yeah.
That is the best response, isn't it?
It is. For me, that's the best. And you can't blame people for defaulting to heterosexual, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. I don't want to have to blame anyone. But, it is the norm, even though it's a terrible norm. So...
It's a terrible norm.
Like Norman Bates, another terrible norm.
Okay, it's so random. I think what you mean is... Unfortunately, all of society, all of the media, all of the everything is heterosexual, and so therefore it is the default setting.
It is, and I'm not going to rack someone over the coals for that because...
It is the default setting, and so you have to understand that that's, they're going to ask you, oh, you're married? Yes, I'm married. Oh, what does your husband do?
Yeah, and everyone's socialized to it, even lesbians and gay people and bi people and trans people. Unless you're one of those super woke people who is actually just annoying, you don't go around, speaking in non-pronouns.
The super what people?
Woke. Awakened to everything that's PC.
Is this an actual thing?
Yes. It's kind of Instagram speak.
On Fleek. I don't Instagram. What's on Fleek?
Oh, that's to do with eyebrows. When they look really perfect, an eyebrow is on Fleek.
I think we should start normalizing questions like, what does your spouse do? Or what does your partner do? Rather than what does your husband or your wife do, why should you assume? And in fact, having said that, what about people in multiple relationships? What do your spouses do?
Sure, but I'm not going to get on a soapbox and give a little speech about why you should be using the word spouse over the word husband or wife or partner, because honestly, I'd much rather someone ask me what my husband does than what my partner does. I hate the word partner so much, I want to rip it out of the dictionary.
Okay, but that's very unique to you, right? So heterosexual people out there who are listening to this podcast, basically you need to create a non-event around somebody coming out to you, because let me tell you from personal experience, every single time we come out, every time, there's this kind of moment when we're holding our breaths and we're waiting to see how the reaction is going to be, because we could very easily be rejected at this point.
Yes, and the same thing goes for... anyone who is lesbian, gay, queer, whatever you identify as, when you meeting people who you assume to be gay, queer, whatever, don't out people unless they are outing themselves. So, try to ask stuff as generally as possible, I think, as well. Because someone may not be out, or they might not want to be out in that circumstance.
That's true. Unfortunately, we do live in a world where being out is not always a safe
Space.
You know, a safe thing to do.
Yeah, for example, hey, you're at work, you're at the water cooler, if those, yeah, they do still exist. So you're at the water cooler and you go, hey, Jane, what does your wife do? And Jane is like,
awkward.
Exactly. You don't want to do that.
Okay. So basically, make it a non-event and don't out people.
Yes.
And don't be an arse. Like, don't make fun of other people's discomfort, the journeys that they have to go through, especially unpleasant ones like coming out.
And don't patronize people. Don't treat them as other, or I don't know, have to be treated with kid gloves or something because they have outed themselves.
So check with the video, whose name shall remain anonymous simply because I actually don't remember what it is. Not cool, check.
No, it's not. And I could have a whole big rant just on that video, but, you know, maybe she needs to get herself woke on, you know, dealing with people who are gay and how to actually educate herself and her family on treating others.
She actually had a conversation with her son, which I think she meant to, as from a good place, because she said something to him like, it doesn't matter who you love, it's what's in your heart that matters, or some such thing. And that's, on the surface, it seems great. But when you dig down into it, it's a very patronizing sort of space to come from.
No, it really is. And, you know,
it's like, you can be different. That's okay. I still love you, my sweetheart. You know, even if you're a little weirdo.
I mean, you know, and the spoiler alert was that this kid identifies as straight. So it was just like a really weird kind of, almost the same as the incel kind of stuff where, you know, privileged white males are all sad that white women are getting, you know, better rights, or are upset about being raped.
So the point is, don't be an arse, straight people. And honestly, our coming out should be a non-event. And the more it is a non-event, the happier we'll all be as humans. Alright, so I'm Sheena.
And I'm Tamara.
And don't forget to subscribe to the show. I actually don't think you can rate it anymore on Apple Podcasts. I was searching and I can't find a rating system anymore.
Seriously?
Yes. But you can rate it on the other ones, on Stitcher and on Podbean, so go do that. And leave us comments. I sometimes get them. Email us on podcast@thelesbiantalkshow.com and come visit our Facebook group, the Lesbian Talk Show chat group. Ha! I remembered.
And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends, your family.
And all the straight people who need to hear this.
Yes. Go do it now.
That was a good podcast. High five. Yes.
So high five, it actually landed.
I know. I'm so proud of us. Yay! It's our lesbian. It's coming through. We actually like, you know, all sporty.
No, usually when we try high five, it kind of slightly misses and it's very sad.
It's because your hand is too small.
It's totally my fault.
It is.